All right, so I get a lot of flack on this channel because I don't talk a lot about wilderness survival anymore. And yes, wilderness survival is very important because it teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you how to take care of yourself when you don't have access to things such as an oven or a stove or a microwave. Being able to cook over a fire, being able to use a camp stove to create meals that you're used to eating is very important, in my opinion. Being able to set up a tent and live comfortably inside of that tent in case something were to happen to your house, I think is very important. Being able to rough it does teach you skills that help you in your everyday life, right? If my oven were to stop working today, I can grab my camp stove and I can keep cooking steak and eggs and pancakes and waffles. Not waffles, I need a waffle iron. I still have a waffle iron, so I could. But you know what I mean? I'm still able to produce the same meals that I make today. If the power were to go out, right? I can still stay warm. I can still, everything that I learned camping, I can apply here at home in a power outage. If some of my appliances break, if, even if the fridge were to go out, I can go grab ice and put stuff in my cooler to help preserve it. And these are important skills, but the wilderness part is the part that people seem to focus the most on, right? They're making bug out bags to bug out into the woods. If something goes bad, they're going to go out into the woods. Well, today I crunched the numbers. I used Grok to help me. And this is the reality, okay? This is what I figured out a long time ago, and I want to share this with you. So, the United States of America, I live in the United States of America, so that's what I'm going to focus on. There are 340 million people in the United States of America. There are 188 million acres of national forest. Okay, so this is land that we can go into. Usually there's a 14-day limit to how long you can stay in a national forest, but again, if it's this SHTF situation, then all bets are off, right? You can go and you can be in there for as long as you want. No one's going to be after you. But here's the kicker. 188 million acres, 340 million people. That's not going to work, right? So let's do it this way. If every single person, okay, bugged out into those 188 million acres, and they each needed 5 acres of land, okay? So those 5 acres are where you're going to get your wood to build your cabin. It's where you're going to get your wood to heat and cook and keep you warm and everything. If everybody got 5 acres, there could be 37.6 million people, which is 11% of the population, okay? So if 11% of our entire population bugged out into the woods, everybody would get 5 acres. Right? And so that being said, if you have 5 acres and it's not on waterfront property, you have to be allowed access to other people's camps in order to go and get access to that water, to those resources, and so on. If you look at all of the forests in the United States of America, so all the forest land, this includes state parks, logging forest, private property, so people that own it, all of the forests in the United States of America, there's 766 million acres, okay? And so if everybody, again, got 5 acres, you're at 153 million people. If you take all of the forest land in the United States of America, including the crappy stuff that has zero access to water, zero access to anything, 153 million people can have the 5 acres they need to build a log cabin, have the wood that they need to heat and cook and clean and do everything that they need to do. 153, which is about less than half, okay? So less than half of the population has access to woods. 188 million acres is actually decent as long as everybody shares and allows people to have access to everything, which is 11% of people, right? 11% of the population can bug out into the woods and have what they need. Here's what else, right? That's just woods, okay? That's just to build a log cabin and have firewood and sustain that way, and water and stuff like that. When it comes to food, right? Big game. There are 36 million deer in the USA, right? 36 million. So if we're using the 188 million acres, where everywhere that can fit 37.6 million people, and there's only 36 million deer, that means 1.6 million people don't get a deer, right? And then the deer population is gone, right? It's gone. That means there's never going to be any more deer ever again, right? There are 1.2 million elk. There are 500,000 bison. There are 27.9 million beef cows. There are 9.35 million milk cows. So there's 85,000 hogs. The other thing that I saw said there was 500,000 hogs. So we'll use the 500,000 hogs. So there is 80 million big game in the United States of America, not including like bighorn and black bear and cougars and all of that. Just like the stuff that we commonly eat, I feel. 80 million big game. So 37.6 million people each get 5 acres, which is 11% of the population. 2 years, we'll have all that wiped out, right? 2 years. 2 years, we can sustain ourselves with the wood. We can sustain ourselves with the water. But when it comes to the big game, 2 years, it's all going to be gone. Gone, 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 gone. Like no more deer, elk, bison, beef, cows, right? Yes, there is going to be a year where there is going to be a single mating season maybe. And so maybe we can get 3 years, maybe. That's not enough, right? A lot of people are like, we're going to go into the woods and we're going to recreate civilization. We're going to bug out into the woods and we're going to, this is a very, very short-term thing. And it's only possible if 11% of our population does it. If any more than 11% bug out into the woods, it's not sustainable at all. We're going to run out of wood. We're going to run out of private property. People protect their private property. It's their land, right? If you bug out into the woods and you find your little 5-acre section, you're not going to trust people walking through it, right? Just like you don't trust people walking through your house because they might take things, they might steal things, they might, as people get more and more desperate, the less and less you're going to trust them. Meaning, if your 5 acres isn't on water, right? If it's not next to a river, next to a pond, a lake, or whatever it is, you're in trouble, right? And so it doesn't make sense for me to have the bug out bag go out into a wilderness that I can only stay 14 days in, right? 14 days is the max you can spend inside the wilderness when all laws are intact. If there are still park rangers, if there are still police officers, if there's still law, 14 days max. If there isn't, and people are rushing into the wilderness, anything more than 11% is not going to be sustainable for any length of time either. And so for me, I would rather have what I need here at home. If I have a garden that's already producing, right? It's already producing. I just have to worry about not letting people take my stuff. If I have access to cows, beef cows and stuff, people are going to protect their land. They're going to protect their animals. They're going to protect what they need to protect. And so if I have access to people that have cows, chickens, what have you, I can now barter with those people, and it's going to be far more sustainable because they're going to be the ones gatekeeping how much goes and how much stays. They're going to become the new DNR, right? They're going to become the new park rangers. They're going to be like, I can only butcher 10 of my cows in order to have 10 more cows next year. I can only butcher 6 of my chickens so that I can still have the eggs that I need every day to produce eggs for the community. I can own, right? The people that own these cows, chickens, goats, whatever they own, they're going to become the gatekeepers. They're not just going to let people come in on their land and take whatever they want to take. They're going to protect it, life or death, right? They're going to protect it with everything they have. And they're going to gatekeep who gets and who doesn't. So having land that is mine, having gardens that are mine, that I can barter some vegetables for some eggs, I can barter some vegetables for maybe some meat, I can kind of sustain me and my family long term because I have what I need here at home. I'm not starting from zero in the middle of the woods that I have nothing there, right? Starting a garden from scratch in soil that you are unfamiliar with is extremely difficult. You might not wield anything your first season. You might wield very little in your first season. You have no idea, right? Not until you learn the land, not until you learn the processes, not until you learn what grows and what doesn't, do you start being sustainable, right? So I'd rather do that right now in the comfort of my own yard than try to figure it out in the middle of nowhere after things have gone bad. All right, so here's the other thing. There are 36 million deer. 10% of the population is 34 million people. So if 10% all go deer hunting, there's 2 million deer left. They're not sustainable at all. 5% is 17 million. Okay, so that's a little bit more manageable. If we can get 5% of the population to bug out into the woods and everybody else kind of does what they do, I guess, it'd be far more sustainable. But realistically, 1% is the sweet spot. 1% is 3.4 million people. 3.4 million people can sustain themselves indefinitely because in the United States of America, 8.1 million big game animals are harvested a year to keep the population healthy. So if we can take 8.1 million people and each of them gets to harvest an animal. Okay, so you can't harvest 8.1 million deer, right? Or 8.1 million elk because there's only 1.2 million of them. You have to be mindful of what you're taking and where. But 8.1 million big game animals harvested a year to keep the population healthy. This does not include cows, but 8.1 million big game animals means if you bug out into the woods and you are hunting the game that's available in your local woods and you're doing it ethically and you're pretending like the DNR and hunting licenses still exist, 8.1 million people, and usually like a deer has about 50 pounds of meat, and so 50, we'll say 60 pounds, 60 pounds of meat, a pound a day, 60 days, 2 months, and so you'll need 6 deer a year, right? So the 8.1 million isn't even like, you would have to sustain it more with rabbits and squirrels and everything. Yeah, I didn't think about how you need more than one a year. You need quite a bit more than one a year. But like elk, I'm not sure how much meat is on an elk or a bison, but yeah, there's like 60-ish pounds per deer of meat, right? So yeah, you would need more than one a year. So yeah, I don't see how it's sustainable. I don't see how it's doable in the current state of the world, right? We live in a concrete jungle. Most of our country is cities. It's man-made structures, man-made buildings, parking lots, roads. We tore down a lot of what sustained us 200,000 years ago, right? 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, there was a lot more wilderness with a lot more creatures and animals and stuff inside of it. We have torn down too much. We have built too much, right? The Industrial Revolution was amazing, but all those factories and plants and everything that we tore wilderness down to build took away our ability to sustain ourselves in the woods alone. And that is my personal belief. That is what I believe to be true. In that comment section, I want to know what you think. Do you think that bugging out into the woods is still a reasonable option? Do you think that it's realistic that if something bad did happen, if we all bugged out into the woods, we could sustain ourselves a lot more comfortably than we could if we just stayed home? Let me know in the comment section. Like this video if you like this idea and these concepts that I'm coming out with. Next week, we're going to talk about 3 skills that are better than wilderness skills. And so subscribe if you haven't already, because you don't want to miss that video. And I cannot wait to see you on my next one.